Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. I like the quiet kind of Halloween, not the loud parties or crowded streets. I prefer the calm moments near the end of the night when most of the kids have gone home and the decorations glow softly in the dark. That night was especially quiet. By around 10:30, my bowl of candy was still half full, which almost never happens. Outside, the streetlights cast long orange shadows across the road. A thin layer of fog hovered near the ground, drifting slowly between the houses. I remember thinking, guess that's it for tonight. So I turned off the living room lights, grabbed my phone, and sat on the couch. That's when I heard the knock. Not loud, not urgent, just 3 slow taps. At first, I thought maybe I imagined it. Then it came again. 3 slow taps. I sighed, stood up, and picked up the candy bowl. Honestly, I expected to open the door and find a group of teenagers trying to get free candy. But when I opened the door, only one child was standing there. A small boy. He looked about 8 years old. He wore an old-fashioned costume, not a superhero, not a cartoon character. It looked like something from decades ago. Dark pants, a simple jacket, no mask. He held a pumpkin-shaped candy bucket in both hands. The porch light flickered above him. Fog curled around his shoes. He didn't say a word. He didn't smile. He didn't even blink. I waited a moment, expecting him to say trick or treat. He just stared at me. So I forced a small laugh and said, trick or treat. Slowly, very slowly. He lifted the bucket toward me. His hands looked pale, almost gray. A strange chill ran through me, but I shook it off. I reached into the bowl and dropped a handful of candy into his bucket. The candy hit the plastic with a hollow clatter. I smiled and said, "There you go. Happy Halloween." He didn't move. He didn't look at the candy. He didn't look away. Then, in a quiet, raspy voice, he said, "Thank you for remembering me." My smile faded. I wasn't sure what to say. "Remembering you?" I asked. "Do I know you?" The boy just stared at me. No expression, no emotion. After a few seconds, he slowly lowered the bucket. Then he turned around. No goodbye, no thank you. He walked off my porch and into the fog. I watched him disappear between the houses. Something about the way he walked bothered me. Not limping, not rushed, just slow. Too slow. I stood there longer than I should have, staring into the darkness. Finally, I closed the door and locked it. I told myself it was just a weird kid trying to be creepy. Halloween does that to people. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. Thank you for remembering me. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I saw my neighbor outside watering her plants. She's an older woman who has lived on this street for decades. I casually mentioned the strange trick-or-treater. Her face changed instantly. Not confusion, not curiosity, fear. She slowly turned off the hose. "What did he look like?" she asked. I described the costume. Her hands started shaking. She told me that when she was young, a little boy lived 2 houses down. On Halloween night, he was hit by a car while crossing the street. He died before the ambulance arrived. He had been trick-or-treating, wearing the same type of costume, carrying a pumpkin bucket. Then, she said something that made my stomach drop. Every few years, someone on this street says a boy knocked on their door late on Halloween night. They always say he thanks them for remembering him. I went back inside and locked my door. That night, I poured all the leftover candy into the trash. I haven't handed out candy since. I went to a friend's Halloween party about 2 miles from my house. Nothing wild. Just a few people, some music, cheap decorations, and way too much candy. Around midnight, I decided to walk home. I didn't feel drunk. I didn't feel unsafe. The streets were mostly empty. A few porch lights still glowed. Some plastic skeletons leaned against fences. About 10 minutes into my walk, I heard footsteps behind me. I assumed it was another person heading home. I didn't look back. The footsteps stayed the same distance behind me, not getting closer, not falling behind. I crossed the street. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps cross too. That's when I glanced over my shoulder. About 30 feet behind me stood a tall person. They wore dark clothes and a plain white mask. No design, no expression, just white. I laughed nervously and told myself it was someone trying to mess with me. It was Halloween after all. I kept walking. After another block, I sped up slightly. So did the footsteps. My heart started pounding. I turned onto a side street. Footsteps followed. I stopped walking. The footsteps stopped. I slowly turned around. The masked person stood perfectly still. I tried to sound confident. "Very funny," I said. No response. They just tilted their heads slightly. Something about that small movement made my blood run cold. I turned and walked faster, not running, not yet. I didn't want to show fear. The footsteps grew faster. So did mine. I broke into a run. So did they. I ran the remaining blocks to my house, fumbling with my keys, nearly dropping them twice. I got inside and slammed the door, locked it, then locked it again. Breathing hard, I peeked through the front window. The street was empty. No masked figure, no movement. I stood there for a long time. Eventually, I convinced myself they had just been trying to scare me. The next morning, police cars were parked a block away. I asked what happened. An officer said someone had been attacked late at night while walking home. They survived. Barely. I asked if they had any suspects. The officer said witnesses described a tall person wearing dark clothes and a plain white mask. I haven't walked home alone at night since. My parents went to a Halloween party and asked me to watch my little sister. She was 4. Easy kid. She fell asleep by 9. I set up the baby monitor on my desk and sat in my room watching videos. Around midnight, I heard static. Then, a soft voice came through the monitor. "Can you see me?" I froze. I assumed my sister was talking in her sleep. I leaned toward the monitor. "Sweetie?" I whispered. No response. A few seconds passed. Then the voice said again, "Can you see me?" My stomach tightened. The voice didn't sound like my sister. It sounded older, calmer. I grabbed my flashlight and went to her room. She was asleep, breathing normally. No one else was there. I checked the closet. Empty. Under the bed. Nothing. I went back to my room. The monitor was silent. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I told my parents what happened. My mom looked confused, then concerned. She said, "The monitor only picks up sound from your sister's room. It doesn't transmit from anywhere else. That means whatever spoke was in her room."